it's another Mike and Mike's Off-Air podcast. Mike O'Neill from the new My 97.5.
And Mike Pesto, if you watched last week, the video, first of all, thank you. We didn't mention this, and we haven't since we've been in the new studio with the new setup and the 2 cameras this time around. Like and subscribe to the YouTube video. It helps out the algorithm and blah, 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 blah.
The algorithm.
You also noticed that it took us 3 takes last week.
Yes.
Third time was the charm for a various host of issues that someone's doing,
The
other people's
bumper
doing.
sticker is right. Stuff happens.
Yeah, it wasn't a technical issue. It was operator error. But again, 1 take wonders this week. Speaking of which, so as we're talking here, we're actually recording this Tuesday, June 24th. Tomorrow, Wednesday, June 25th, is Global Beatles Day.
Oh.
So I've gone back to doing something on the show every morning that I used to do before, for whatever reason stopped, and I'm doing it again. Based on something that we celebrate that particular day, we're playing The Feud. So tying in an actual Family Feud question from either recent or in the past. So without looking, I gotta fold this piece of paper in half so you can't see it.
Why do I feel like I'm going to get a wah, wah, wah?
Well, this one's easy because you're a fan of rock bands from the 60s, 70s, 80s. Name a legendary rock band. 5 answers on the board. What would you think, Mike O'Neill, the top 5 responses would be?
Rock band?
Name a legendary rock band. I'm giving you one because, again, tomorrow is Global Beatles Day.
Well, obviously it goes across generations. Beatles,
Number 1.
Led Zeppelin,
Number 4.
they're fired. Metallica.
Not on the list at all. Not even outside the top 5.
Story of their damn career, Michael. They deserve to be on the list.
I
Anyway,
definitely think
back to the list.
classic rock
All
bands. I would not put in them in the classic rock category.
Because the Beach Boys are a classic rock band too, and that might be on the softer side of it.
They are not. Definitely a bit harder. There's only one. I'll give you one hint. There's only one artist on the list that we actually play on the new My 97.5.
Well,
But they're outside the top 5.
pretty soft for us. I mean, for classic rock. I don't know, man.
U2.
Yeah, they were, and still technically are a global phenomenon.
All right, so again, you've got number 1, Beatles. Number 4, Led Zeppelin. You're missing one that some would say should be ahead of the Beatles.
Wow.
They still release music. They still tour on occasion with
There's so
some
many
of their
bands, man.
original members.
Styx isn't legendary, but they're awesome.
Dun, 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 dun,
the Rolling Stoners.
How could you forget the Stones?
I can't afford to see them, Mike.
They're
Yeah.
number 2 on the list.
That's not surprising.
The other 2, I don't know that I would get. Kiss, believe it or not.
Yeah,
Gene Simmons apparently was asked, and he voted several times.
quote unquote, the global phenomenon.
He's number 3. They're number 3 on the list. And
Jeez.
AC/DC.
Yeah, they deserve it, dude. Have you ever seen them live?
I have not. No interest whatsoever.
AC/DC has taken 3 chords
Exactly. That's it. That's
and
why.
made it legendary. I mean, that lick on Thunderstruck.
Uh-huh.
I thought that's got to be pretty easy to play. It's not. And anyway, they deserve to be there. Although they're current since 1981. The album came out, right? 1980, 1981, Black and Black.
Mm-hmm.
Their current lead singer does a wonderful, wonderful job.
There's a love-hate relationship
Bon was the
there.
AC lead singer.
Yeah, and for the casual fan listener, you can't tell the 2 apart. Now, side to side, as I said, for the casual listener, you really can't. Side to side, yeah, you definitely can.
Bon really sounded like that.
There's
I can't get his name. I know the name of the current lead singer.
But I don't.
But in any event, he is very effective to sound like it. But whereas Bon really, that was Bon's voice.
Okay.
It was really his voice.
Yeah, so AC/DC at 5. The Who.
Yeah, they deserve to be there.
At 6, U2 mentioned 7, and Pink
But-
Floyd at 8.
Pink Floyd was like, at 8?
8. I love the delayed reaction.
Out of
It
town.
got to the ears, it took a scenic route, and then ding, wait, 8!
They were legendary, man. I mean, I know that word gets overused, but they were legendary. I was just reading something really good about how much their keyboardist brought to the band and how much, I mean, their bass player, Roger Waters, always says that he's the band and he could replace every other member in the band and this and that. No, he couldn't.
Except they had
They
the
were
biggest
all-
commercial success, for whatever it's worth, commercial success after he left.
Exactly.
And the 2 or 3 albums that they released after he left and still kept on going strong. In fact, if you get to YouTube, which hopefully you're watching us on our YouTube channel, there's a guy, the Professor of Rock, who has done several videos specifically on Pink Floyd. And I think he's interviewed several members as well. How he gets the connections he does, I have no idea. But has spent a lot of time talking about how fearful they were with Momentary Lapse of Reason when that came out. Thinking, okay, Roger's going to bury us. He's going to say all these bad things about it. And then sure they just realized he's going to say bad stuff about us whether we release a
Win,
new
lose, or
album
draw.
or not.
Yeah.
So let's just do the best we can and let the chips fall where they may. And again,
It did great.
global success with that album and several others after it.
But see, that's the thing about them. They were a band in every sense of the word. If you took the keyboards out of what they did, it would be nothing. If you took the iconic leads out, it wouldn't be the same. If you took Roger's writing and bass playing out, it wouldn't be the same. You weren't the band, Raj, but you were definitely a part of it. And of course, Mason's drumming was wonderful, but they were a band.
Yeah, there are some great documentaries on YouTube as well worth checking out about them, as well as some other ones. Maybe I'll do a little search for those because I know you're a fan. I'll let you know about them.
8.
So one thing that we love doing every Friday, my 97.5, is give you our what to watch suggestions. I know, Mike O'Neill, you have one every week. I have one. Jennifer Grant has one as well. I can't promise you I'm going to suggest this, but I did see on Disney Plus Frozen, the Broadway musical is now streaming.
Mike,
On
let it go, Mike.
Right now, well,
Just
where's the rim shot?
let it go, buddy.
And do keep in mind, there are 2 more Frozen movies that are slated to come out. So this is basically just wetting our whistle until that actually happens.
Gotta
But-
keep those theme parks open, Mike.
Jeez. I thought they did that with all of our money.
Yeah.
But I still go back to the original. I love the original Frozen movie. And I wanted to get to this because it ties into something else I wanted to ask you about. The movie. And hold on, head here. There we go. So the last song in the original movie was the one with all the trolls singing. I'm sure you've seen the movie countless times.
And all of my, and my daughter's friends' daughters, it's on. It's always on.
Yeah.
For a while, it was just always on.
For a while there, my daughter had every single song memorized. I have video of her doing her best Elsa and then
Sure.
Anna. But again, the last song that they had in the movie was the one with all the trolls singing. The name of the song is Fixer Upper, if you remember. There's a line in the song. We're not saying you can change him because people don't really change. I have always had an issue with that line to the point that when the song is coming on, I will turn down the volume. It's like if I don't hear it, it's not actually there. I want to ask you, do you believe in the idea of people being able to change? Or do you think you are who you are, especially at your age, Mike O'Neill, my age, Mike Pesto, we can't possibly change at our ages?
No, I don't believe that. I know that at the heart of me, at 67 years old, I know me pretty well. I know my the good things that make me up, and I know the proclivities that come up in me, the behaviors that can come up in me. One of the things I am, and we've talked about it before, is an alcoholic, and that brings with it some behaviors that we alcoholics tend to have. And I never thought that I would, well, my wife never thought that any of that would be able to change, but I did. I forget how many years it is now. 12 years ago, I reached out and asked for the madness of the first drink to be taken away, and it was. And upon that, I threw myself into, I've got to do something about this. My wife deserves better than this. My wife made it clear then she was leaving. And that's all I needed. Everybody had a different bottom. Everybody had a different bottom. That was my bottom. Nope. I'm gonna do something about that. And that became most of what I did the whole next year, to the point of my job suffering at points. And I know that if you want to change, you can. I still have anger management problems, because that's a part of me, but I'm working on it. I still am sarcastic to a fault, but that's me. I'm not passive aggressive anymore because that came up and I needed to work on it. But yes, I truly believe people can change. Not everybody does. I mean, I've sadly, some people close to me couldn't stop drinking and died, Michael, from it.
Yeah.
Someone I worked with died from it, and it broke my heart. Some people can't. You have to, at the heart of it, you desperately have to want to and decide to.
Now, can people change? And I agree with your actions. You are in control of your actions. You can stop what you do. Nothing makes you a puppet.
No.
Whether you have a tendency to fly off the handle, whether you have a tendency to have road rage, whether you have a tendency to be a wallflower, whatever it is, we all have those tendencies. You can change your behavior. This is where I go back and forth on this aspect of it. Can you change who you are at your core before you act on anything, how you interpret a situation, how you feel about a situation? Can that aspect of you ever change? Or is that who you are and the best you can do is change your behavioral reactions to those things?
I think to a point there's some validity there, because I'm a half empty. And my wife is the opposite, which is one of the reasons why we get along, because who the heck would want to be married to themselves? And
well, a narcissist.
yeah. Oh, I must have said something I would have regretted. But the point being is, the heart of me does tend to be the same, and I do have to manage the behaviors.
Okay.
I've never tried. I don't really know how to change that, other than. But I do know this. I do know that if I live a spiritual lifestyle, and I am consistent with that, I become a better person. And I've seen that. I've seen that that's true. If I'm walking with my Savior, my life gets better, and He sanctifies me, and that does change me at my core. That's the only thing that I have seen that can change me at my core.
Okay.
Other than that, I'm managing behaviors.
And I tend to agree with that. I look at that side of it and think, okay, the best I can do is give myself that pause between wanting to have a knee-jerk reaction to something to then having a thoughtful reaction to something. I'm half Italian, and when I get PO'd, that's that takes over.
Yeah.
And even at my age, I have been known to slam doors and raise my voice and say things that then I have to apologize for, and I get stubborn with it, and it takes me a while to apologize. So it's thinking about all those things and realizing, okay, what I'm about to do is going to have week, if not month-long consequences with my relationship with my wife and my kids or with coworkers. So let me take that step back, take a big breath, and then say a thoughtful thing here as opposed to a knee-jerk thing.
Putting a space between the emotion and the reaction. My counselor has reminded me constantly about that. I'm much better these days, but I can still not wait and then regret the response. And I did it 2 weeks ago, and it wasn't important what happened. I mean, it was not. It wasn't. It's not important to you, but I made a mistake and overreacted to a situation instead of simply going, "Hey, what we're really hoping for in this situation is this, this, and this. How does that sound? Oh yeah, okay, great. Yeah, let's do that."
Okay.
And in other words, it's the equivalent of it. If my wife would, and it wasn't about my wife, but if my wife were to say something to me, "Well, you're just a jerk," as opposed to, "Hey, when you did such and such and such, it made me feel like this and reminded me of how things were when they weren't good," as opposed to, and then we're communicating. So,
I can tell just in the way you said that, it made me feel you've been to therapy a few times, because that is a great tool of therapy. And I've said this to my wife countless times, that if you ever come to me and say, when you did this, it made me feel, I can't argue with that. I can't argue with the way that having done something made you feel, because that is your truth. If you put an intention on me and said, you did that because X, you might be right, but you might also be wrong, and that assumption could start a whole nother argument.
it's a lot easier to ask rather than to assume. And I've learned to never commit my wife with, "You always," because she doesn't always do anything besides breathe. And that's so unfair, as opposed to, I feel that when this happens and this, and you said this, I reacted this way to it, and here's why.
Yeah.
We're communicating.
Yeah.
You're a bitch. Because guess what, guys? That doesn't work.
Marriage advice from Mike O'Neill.
Yeah.